Hi everyone, it is Timber, the Study Abroad Specialist, and in today's video, we are going to be discussing the value of taking a gap year as a high school student. So before we start today's topic, please go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please share this video. I know that if you are a student currently looking for information about study abroad, you probably have people within your friend group who are also thinking about it. Maybe they're going with you, maybe they're going different places, but we want to make sure that everyone gets the information that they need. So please definitely share this video so that more people who are planning to study abroad can learn about it. So I wanted to just talk about gap years specifically because I get asked this question a lot. I know that in particular, everything that has happened in 2020, 2021, gap years have grown in popularity. They've always been around. They have more traditionally been popular in Europe and in the UK and in parts of Asia, but they have now really blown up within, the US as well and in Canada. I think that after everything that has happened in these past 24 months, a lot of students have tried to regroup and say, I need to take a step back. There's been a lot going on. Maybe they're not interested, at least at the time, in 2020 at any period, maybe when everything first started, or, as their semester went on in late 2020 of doing online schooling, they're like, I have enough. I want to figure out how to sort of reevaluate things and restructure my learning, at least for a little bit of time. So this totally makes sense why gap years have become more popular. And of course, we know that lots of celebrities have done gap years and that you've probably heard about gap years where people go off and do different things. So we're going to talk about it. So to kind of start out, what is a gap year? A gap year is essentially a shorter defined period of time, typically either semester or a year, as you would think of. So a academic year, sometimes a little bit longer, but it's where students are not taking on traditional studying activities, but they are stepping back and they are deciding that they're going to do what we call experimental learning. With gap years, I think that there's so much value in them for high school students. A lot of people talk about it in college because you're sort of in that period between your learning and your career, but I feel like high school is a great time to do it. And keeping in mind, it's just like study abroad itself, where you don't necessarily have to do it between the time that you graduate high school and the time that you go off to college. You could do it even between like your junior and senior year. You would obviously have to work with your school on that, but there is value in doing it. So the first element of value in doing it is that it completely changes everything for you. As I was saying before, everyone, particularly if you are an American student, is doing the same thing. And so it's like, if you are able to go off and do something experimental, I would definitely want to clarify what that is. It's not just kind of sitting around all day, watching reality TV and, eating bonbons or whatever. Please don't do that on your gap year. Most students who do a gap year are really passionate about what they're doing. But again, they're trying to figure out, like, how can I fit this in? So they may go off and they may do a huge mission trip. They may go off and do something like AmeriCorps. If you're here in America, they may go off if they're in Europe and do something where they're doing an internship in an entirely different country next door. It may be something like that, but it's still something of value that they feel, I really want to go off and do this right now. Maybe you're thinking about college, you're interested in college or university, but you're not quite sure which one is right for you. So instead of just going on these random campus tours that, at least here in the US we go on, maybe you take an opportunity, because there are lots of colleges and universities around the world that sort of have these experimental programs for students where you get to kind of rotate around different universities or different colleges and experiment with it as a high school student, but still say, like, I'm still trying to figure out what works for me. And you're not going to be able to figure that out on something like just a kind of plain campus tour. You need to actually be in the classrooms, sit with the students, talk to the students, figure out what's going on. So I feel like that is definitely kind of a top priority in terms of gap year success, is being able to sort of do something that's going to be completely different and that's going to make you stand out in the future. I know that even though there is some stigma around gap years, that when people find out that you've done it, they're like, wow, how did you spend it? And so you want to be able to have some concrete, exciting, and very tangible things that you can show that, yes, I did take a year off between my junior year, my senior year of high school, or yes, after I graduate high school, I was like, you know what, I don't want to go straight to college, but I did X, Y, and Z. So that is the first way that I feel that you can show value of having taken a gap year, by showing that you did something that was really meaningful, really impactful, and really true to who you are and true to what you want to do in the future. The next element of value that you will find for taking a gap year as a high school student, particularly if you are a high school student transitioning into college, is that you're going to have the opportunity to sort of take a step back. So you have to think of it as every single step that we take is a new chapter, and it is also a time where we definitely learn about ourselves, but where we also need time to reflect. And I think, unfortunately, in our, sort of busy culture, particularly here in the West, we don't really often have time to reflect on things. So it's like, we're just on to the next, on to the next. That can be valuable as well. But when you are making a huge transition, and it is a huge transition from high school to college life, you need to sort of be able to take a beat, take a breath, and figure out, like, what were some of the things, not just educationally, that you learned in your high school years, but what were some of the things that you actually learned about yourself as a person? Like, what did you learn about, like, what you like, what you don't like, who you want to be, who you don't want to be, the types of people that you want to cultivate in your life, the types of relationships that you want to build in your life. These are things that I think are so pivotal going into a college or university situation. And so being able to take a gap year off like that, it basically allows you to sort of reset your mind and say, like, maybe in high school, you wanted to be more outgoing and you figured out some of the tools that work for you to be able to do that, but it didn't quite shape out in high school. But you know that when you want to get to college, that is how you're going to enter. You want to tackle it that way. But you take some time back to sort of figure out, like, how many people do I want to be around? How many friends do I want to have? Do I want to have a big social circle? Do I want to, have a smaller group? If you're here in a place like the US, do you want to join a sorority or a fraternity? Do you feel like that doesn't work for you? Do you feel like you're going to want to be involved a lot with campus life, or is that not something you're not interested in? Taking a gap year is a great way to do that, because it gives you that space in between everything to just feel like, okay, like, I can actually breathe. I can reset myself. I can prepare myself, even if I'm super excited about college and ready to be there, that I just have a chance to be able to breathe, take a beat, take a step back, and actually figure out who I am in this moment before you embark on your college journey. I can promise you that, even if you're someone who you just take a semester off, and let's say you take a semester off and then you start your college year the next January, I feel like it just adds a different layer of perspective for students. And it's something that I often recommend to people, particularly, if there's someone that, they're just trying to figure out, maybe they weren't super excited about the college they got into, but, they know that they want to get started, but they're like, I definitely just want to be able to breathe for a minute and feel like I can actually slow down. I've been busy for the past 4 years in high school or secondary school, and I want to take some time before I move on to the next step. You should definitely consider doing that. So I would say that that is the second important element, is being able to just have some time to regroup yourself and be able to refocus so that you can have an easier transition into your next step. So the third element of taking a gap year as a high school student would definitely be to have an opportunity to make money. So as we know, particularly here in the US, but it's getting that way to be, around the world, college is super expensive. And so a lot of students feel as if, like, even if they have some support from their parents, or if they're getting financial aid or whatever it is, that, once they get into school, they want to be able to focus more, and they don't feel like they're going to be able to juggle both of working and of going to school. That is very hard. I feel blessed that I didn't have to do that, but I have known a lot of students that, not just working part-time. I've known students that, they haven't had any support. And so they've had to work full-time and go to school full-time. I could not imagine what that would be like. And I have so much respect for them. But a lot of students feel like, I want to take a gap year so that I can get out there and make money. I can get out there and make money and save some money. And then that way, once I actually get on campus and actually get into my studies, that I won't have to worry as much about that pressure of at least like, you know, yeah, I'll probably have to get a part-time gig or something, but it won't seem as daunting to me when I get on campus and see how expensive everything is just day to day, where I've actually saved some money and I feel like I have some cushion in my bank account. So I really respect that. I really recommend that for students, particularly if you know that you're not going to have any support from your parents. There's no shame in deciding to take a gap year. On the flip side of that, there are lots of students who decide that they want to take a gap year to actually just get some work experience. So it may not even be a paid thing. It may be where they're doing an unpaid internship, but they feel like I never had any time to do that in high school. Maybe you were, you know, an elite athlete. Maybe you were someone who was involved with a lot of clubs. And so throughout your summers or whenever you had a chance, you didn't really have an opportunity to do things like internships, but maybe you got a great opportunity to get an internship at the top place within your field. And you're like, I cannot pass this up. And they're like, well, you know, we want to take you on for the first 6 months of the year. And you're like, well, what am I going to do? I have to take a gap year. I would highly recommend that you do that. Those type of opportunities don't come around all the time. And even if it's not something that is as grand as that, even if it's something where you're just working locally somewhere and you're able to make some great connections, get some good experience, and you feel like I want to be able to build that into my lifestyle, into my resume before I go off to college, I would highly recommend that. And so I would say that I think that it's really important to not worry about those negative comments that you are most likely going to get. Hopefully it's not from your family or people that are close to you, but that, you know, of course, every single person is not going to be judging you. But even as you're going to apply for things, people are going to wonder, well, why did you take time off? Because again, it's not the common thing to do. And you really need to just be prepared to defend yourself. As I was saying in the first point, if you are out there doing something that is meaningful, that is tangible, that you can show, even if it was just for yourself, if you were just off doing an internship that you were really excited about, you don't need to apologize for that. Like that, you know, was something that was meaningful for you. And it's something where you got to make connections and meet new people. And yes, you did take time off between college and, you know, high school and college to do it, but you at least got a chance to do it. And so definitely don't shy away from that at all. And really just step into it and know that you did the right thing for what you need to do. So I would highly recommend doing a gap year for that reason. If you have an opportunity, whether it be to work for free and get some experience, or if you want to work and make some money and actually build up so that on, you know, your college campus, once you get there, you don't have to be struggling and you can sort of have, you know, some cushion within your bank account to feel more comfortable and know that you're going to have a great experience and not have to worry about money as you're trying to get your studies done. Okay, and so that is the end of the video. I know that I try to keep it as short as possible, and I will do some more videos about gap years. This was specifically for high school or secondary students, but I'm going to do some more related to college students and then just more about gap years in general. But I often get asked about gap years and how that works. I think I'm also going to film a video about gap year and study abroad specifically, because again, just because you're doing a gap year, it doesn't mean you have to study abroad, but you definitely can study abroad during your gap year. I would highly recommend that you do. I just out of cause, just because that's what I love. And if you are someone who's interested in doing a gap year and you're not quite sure how to go about it, I offer very affordable advising sessions. And so if you just go to the link that's here on the screen, you can learn more about that. It is tailored towards study abroad, but I can definitely advise you on gap years as well, whether or not you want to study abroad or whether you want to just stay local. And please go ahead and like this video. So thumbs up. Do they still have the thumbs down? I don't know if they got rid of it. I know they were supposed to get rid of it, but thumbs up it. Please go ahead and share this video, and please go ahead and subscribe. I release videos every single Friday, most Fridays, and sometimes on Wednesdays as well, talking all things study abroad advice, tips, packing tips, traveling tips, everything about study abroad in general. So please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one.